South Florida students protest.
We will not back off. We will fight.
Over a disputed AP African American history class. Vice President Kamala Harris in Miami Beach.
It's great to have you here in Miami Beach, very especially on International Women's Day.
And sharing a stage with Gloria Estefan. And after a long fight for inclusion, women boxers in Cuba finally get in the ring.
From the time we were in our mother's wombs, we are fighters, she says.
These stories and more coming up on Newsbreak.
Hello, South Florida. I'm Samantha Gutierrez.
And I'm Julian Davis. Today's Thursday, March 9th, 2023.
Live from the FIU Lee Kaplan School of Journalism and Media, this is SFMN Newsbreak.
AP outreach at Miami's Freedom Tower. Demonstrators at the protest had a message for Governor Ron DeSantis. They want Florida high school students to have access to the disputed AP African American history course.
The network's Hawa Azel was at the event in downtown Miami yesterday.
A protest led by Florida Rising was held Wednesday at the Freedom Tower in response to Governor Ron DeSantis' recent book ban and his proposed ban on abortions at 6 weeks. As you can see behind me, many have gathered to express their outrage.
We want to tell him that we will not back off. We will fight against all his racist agenda.
Many see the proposed bill along with the book ban as minority erasure and a ploy for power, but the governor feels otherwise.
Understand, they're lying to you. That is not true. And in reality, none of those books had to be removed. It was just a fake hoax.
Floridians gathered with signs, books, and chants to show their resistance of the newfound legislation.
There's no one out there kind of sharing their nervousness or their anxiety around how dangerous folks like Ron DeSantis are making things. We wanted to give them an opportunity to say it's okay.
They need to hear our voices and our demands, because what they are passing, what they are doing to our communities is inhumane. It's disgusting.
So we are here and we did a die-in demonstration. We lied down on the street, we put our bodies on the line, we held up gravestones, and we are calling attention to the fact that in states that enacted abortion bans post-Dobbs, maternal mortality rates went up 3 times. These bans and these maternal mortality rates fall hardest on Black and African American people, so there's an even greater disparity when we talk about the racial equity gaps in maternal health care.
Stand up and fight back. The people of Miami have been chanting this all day and have no intentions of backing down, suggesting that this protest will not be the last. For South Florida Media Network, I'm Hawa Azel.
A Miami-Dade officer who was injured in the line of duty is recovering at home this morning. The officer was part of a narcotics investigation yesterday near Northwest 39th Street and 2nd Avenue. The City of Miami and Coral Gables police were also on the scene. A shooter grazed him with a bullet in what Police Director Freddie Ramirez calls a cowardly ambush. A suspect was arrested early this morning, and the officer was rushed to Jackson Memorial Hospital and released last night.
News this morning that a 6-year-old who shot his teacher will not face any criminal charges. The community in Newport News, Virginia is still in shock after an armed 6-year-old shot his teacher. It was early in January in Rich Neck Elementary School when the bullet struck Abigail Winter's chest. Although she was critically injured and left the hospital over a week after the incident, the whole community was affected by this tragedy. Officials will not be charging the 6-year-old with aggravated assault, but will continue to search for answers.
President Biden says he will not veto a controversial crime bill affecting the U.S. Capitol. The Senate voted yesterday to block a crime bill that would lower the penalties for some crimes like carjacking. The Republican-led resolution got enough Democratic support to pass the Senate. Opponents of the bill, though, say it is too weak on crime. Those who criticize the Senate for blocking the bill cite that the federal government should not get involved in the district's crime laws.
President Biden is set to propose a new budget for the 2024 fiscal year. The Biden administration says the new budget will better support Medicare and Social Security, lower costs for families, and cut the country's deficit by nearly $3 trillion over the next 10 years. Republicans are skeptical about the new budget, proposing it and don't expect it to go far on Capitol Hill.
A Florida company's 3D printed rocket launch has failed. It's the first of its kind, and it was called off from its attempt to orbit. The 110-foot tall rocket was designed by Relativity to send lightweight satellites into orbit. During the launch window at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, the rocket's countdown was postponed. The Relativity team has not announced when their next attempt at the launch would be.
Semi-autonomous dump trucks at construction sites could build your future home. In fact, it's already scheduled to be used in Naples. This summer, Tomahawk, a Florida excavation company, is planning to use dump trucks that can construct houses by themselves in a neighborhood. The trucks have been modified by Teleo, a California technology company, with supervised autonomy. The trucks are able to be operated on their own with human help if they need it.
This morning, we're in the middle of the first full week of Women's History Month, and it's a special one for a group of athletes in Cuba. As CNN's Patrick Ottman reports, women boxers were only recently allowed to compete in tournaments after decades of restrictions.
For years, this is how women in Cuba have boxed. Sparring in rudimentary gyms with whatever equipment they could scrounge. While men's boxing is a sport the island has long dominated, women's boxing did not bear the government's stamp of approval, meaning women boxers had to train on their own and were unable to compete in tournaments at home or abroad. It was a missed opportunity to show how formidable Cuban women can be in the ring, says trainer Namibia. From the time we were in our mother's wombs, we are fighters, she says. We are always fighting for something, to raise our kids, to help our families, to be independent. Whether it was sexism or simply the slow pace of progress they were up against, at long last, Cuba's female boxers are getting their title shot. In December, Cuban boxing officials said a new league for women would be created and that they hoped female boxers could represent the island in the 2024 Summer Olympics in Paris. We took this step when we were sure, really convinced, he says, that it was the moment and we didn't have any concerns because our women would be protected. Weeks later, 12 women made history as they competed for a spot on the team. Cuba has long produced some of the world's best male boxers, but women were prevented from taking part in the sport here. Now that that glass ceiling has finally been broken, at last the moment for Cuba's women boxers has arrived for them to shine. Any doubts about the women's fighting abilities were quickly put to rest as they came out swinging. These athletes know they will still need to change some minds about whether they belong in the ring, but say at long last, attitudes are shifting. In my case, all the comments I have received have been positive, she says, that if I make an effort,
The Miami Heat preparing for a comeback against the Cleveland Cavaliers after losing their first game of a two-game series here at home. Although the score was tight, it was a disappointing loss, especially for newcomer Kevin Love, who was on the Cavs and got traded to the Heat. This is the first time Love played his former team, and it didn't quite go as he wanted, with only 8 points made and less than 10 rebounds and assists. The final score was Cavaliers 104, Heat 100. The Heat will have the chance to redeem themselves in a rematch against the Cleveland Cavaliers on Friday at 8 p.m.
Vice President of the United States visits Miami Beach, and she shares a stage with one of South Florida's biggest stars. That's still ahead, and so is this story.
It's great to have you here in Miami Beach, very especially on International Women's Day.
Washington takes on a global problem of sea level rise. Our DC bureau is on the story. Newsbreak will be back in 2 minutes.
See us dream. See us remember. See us protest.
You matter. Your feelings matter. Your identity matters. Everything about who you are matters.
See us fight back. See us rebuild. See us shatter stereotypes. See us inspire. See us united. See us now.
There are 16 million children struggling with hunger in America. That's 1 in 5 daughters, sons, neighbors, and classmates who don't know where their next meal is coming from. Yet billions of pounds of good food go to waste every year. It's time we do something about it. Feeding America is a nationwide network of food banks that helps provide meals to millions of kids and families in need. Visit feedingamerica.org to help them feed even more. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
A big day on Miami Beach.
Thank you so much for being here. Good evening, everyone.
This year's Aspen Ideas Climate Conference, but it got a visit from Vice President Kamala Harris. She was the guest of honor at an interview event yesterday inside the Miami Beach Convention Center, hosted by Miami's own Gloria Estefan.
Universities gathered with the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy for a two-day event to discuss the next step on climate change solutions. Reporter
Rachel Costa from our DC Bureau has more.
That is all the time we have for Newsbreak. I'm Julian Davis.
I'm Samantha Gutierrez. Get more news anytime at smm.fiu.edu.